Before practicing inbound marketing, it's important to understand the fundamentals of inbound success. Remember, consumers don't want to be sold to, they want to be educated. And inbound tactics can deliver the kind of information your prospects need to help them make smart, well informed decisions. You can begin to do this by keeping these best practices in mind. First, by using buyer personas. Second, by using the buyer's journey. Then, by creating remarkable content and knowing how to leverage it. Let's start by taking a look at how to use buyer personas. Since inbound marketing and sales are customer-centric, you need to know who you're trying to reach. You don't want just any traffic to your site. You want the right traffic. You want the people who are most likely to become leads and ultimately happy customers. Who are the right people? The right people are your ideal customers, what we call your buyer personas. Buyer personas are semi-fictional representations of an ideal customer based on real data and some educated speculation about demographics, behaviors, motivations, and goals. Personas are created through research, analysis, and taking a close look at who's already buying from you. They can help you get into the mindset of your potential buyers and create the right content. When you create the right content, you'll effectively attract your ideal visitors, convert them into leads, and close them into customers. They're the glue that holds every aspect of inbound marketing together. So, you could say that they're a pretty big deal. How do you create these buyer personas? There are 3 things to keep in mind: research, identifying trends, and creating persona profile stories. First, do your research. Buyer personas must be based off of actual research, not assumptions. Yes, research takes time, but if any of those assumptions are inaccurate, your personas will be too. When conducting research, there are a few questions that you can ask to develop your buyer personas. One way to start is by asking your current customers different questions that touch upon their demographics, goals, and challenges. What is your job role? Your title? What industry or industries does your company work or is your role in? What are you working to accomplish? What are your biggest challenges? How do you learn about new information for your role? Do you use the internet to research vendors or products? You don't have to ask these questions word for word. Make the question specific to your industry so you're getting specific answers in return. And always focus on the why or the motives of your buyer personas, not their actions. The follow-up question to pretty much every question should be, why? Through these interviews, you're trying to understand your persona's goals, behaviors, and their motivations. What really drives them? People aren't always good at describing this for themselves, so it's important to dig deep. Uncovering their motives can lead to a truly powerful content strategy. So how do you do research? Start by interviewing your current customers, former customers, prospects, and even your coworkers. Your existing customer base is the perfect place to start with your interviews because they've already purchased your product and engaged with your company. At least some of them are likely to exemplify your target persona. Reach out to both good and bad customers. It's time to start looking for trends. Patterns and similarities in answers to persona research questions indicate who your personas really are. And how much research does it take to create personas? As much as it takes to identify trends. Be on the lookout for commonalities and similarities between the types of answers you're getting. By now you may be thinking, how many personas should I have? As many as needed. As long as you start noticing trends that will help you build out your buyer personas. All right, you've done your persona research and identified those trends. The final step is to compile this research and create persona profile stories. You want these stories to contain information about who your persona is, using information about their background, their demographics, and their goals and challenges. You'll also want to include your plan to help them. Include common objections that they might have to your product or service, and use real quotes from your interviews. After all, what better way to represent your persona than to use their own words? This will make it easier for employees to relate and understand them. Let's look at an example of what a complete buyer persona profile might actually look like. In this example, we're looking at a persona named Sample Sally. Sample Sally is an example created by an HR database software company. Let's call them HR Blast. And they clearly did their research and identified some trends. Here's what they put together. Sally tends to be the head of HR. She's married, has 2 children, and has been at the same company for many years. She tends to be female and around the age of 40 to 45. She has a very calm demeanor and typically has an assistant screening her calls. Her goals are to keep employees happy and turnover low. She also has to support the legal and finance teams. Some common challenges she runs into are getting everything done with a small staff and rolling out big changes to the entire company. So what about solutions? Well, HR Blast can best help Sample Sally by making it easy for her to manage all of the employee data in one place and integrate with her current legal and finance systems. The company should be prepared for the common objections that she typically has, such as worrying about losing data when moving over to a new system. And she doesn't want to have to train the entire company on how to use it. After interviewing a few current customers, they were able to pull real quotes to use for Sample Sally. Like, it's been difficult getting company-wide adoption of new technologies in the past. And I've had to deal with so many painful integrations with other departments' databases and software. These quotes can make it easier for one of HR Blast's employees to identify if they might be speaking or emailing with Sample Sally. These personas give you a really clear idea of exactly who these potential customers might be. What are they interested in? What are they dealing with? And what are they working towards? But when it comes to creating a great inbound strategy, it's not enough to know just who you're trying to reach. You also have to know what they want to see. And who are buyer personas right for? Is it B2B, B2C, or nonprofit? Buyer personas are necessary for any type of business. That brings us to the buyer's journey. Every interaction your persona has with your organization should be tailored to where they are in the buyer's journey. The buyer's journey is the active research process someone goes through leading up to a purchase. Understanding the buyer's journey for your persona will be key to creating the best content possible. Instead of talking about top, middle, or bottom of the funnel, the buyer's journey is made up of 3 stages: the awareness stage, the consideration stage, and the decision stage that portray the experiences your potential customers go through. The awareness stage is when your prospect is experiencing and expressing symptoms of a problem or opportunity. They're doing education research to more clearly understand, frame, and give a name to their problem. The consideration stage is when a prospect has now clearly defined and given a name to their problem or opportunity. They are committed to researching and understanding all of the available approaches and/or methods to solving the defined problem or opportunity. The decision stage is when a prospect has now decided on their solution strategy, method, or approach. They are compiling a long list of all available vendors and products in their given solution strategy. They could also be researching to whittle down that long list, down to a short list, and ultimately making a final purchase decision. Website visitors might come to your website for the first time in any of the different buyer's journey stages, but you need to have content prepared for each and every stage. Here's a real-life example of the buyer's journey. Ever been sick before? Yes, I'm sure you have. Remember that feeling of being ill, but you're not really sure what you might have? In the awareness stage, you're experiencing symptoms or having a problem. In this case, you feel like you have a sore throat, a fever, and you're achy all over. You ask, what's wrong with me? In the consideration stage, that's when you've given a name to your problem and now needing to figure out your options. You realize, aha, I have strep throat. But what are my options for relieving or curing my symptoms? That's where the decision stage comes in. This is when you decide on your approach to solve the problem. If you have strep throat, you could see a primary care physician, go to the emergency room, or go to a clinic. You might decide that the emergency room costs a lot, but I'm insured and could go with that option. That's how one could go through the buyer's journey. It's from the buyer's perspective. But imagine you as the marketer, or in this case, the doctor. Doctors will typically listen to your symptoms, provide options for you to get better, and prescribe your solution. But what if you went into a doctor's office and they paid no attention to your symptoms and just gave you some sort of medication immediately? Not a pleasant experience. That's what can often happen with website content. Rather than creating content that covers your buyer persona's problems and potential solutions, we jump to explaining our products or our services and why they're the best option. Feel good about the buyer's journey? Let's test your knowledge because the buyer's journey comes up a lot when it comes to inbound. If you were to create a blog post about your product or service, where would it fall into the buyer's journey? Would it be A, awareness stage, B, consideration stage, or C, decision stage? Take 5 seconds to think this over. Your product or service will most likely help solve your persona's problems, but that doesn't make this blog post awareness stage. Your product and service will be some form of solution, but in this case, your blog post is talking all about you. So this would be a decision stage piece of content. But here's the thing. Blog posts aren't really for the decision stage. A bit of a trick question. When you're creating content, specifically blog posts, keep it educational. Not educating them on who you are and what you do, but educating them on their problems and solutions. It's the inbound way, a way to build trust. Once you understand your buyer personas and their buying journey, it's time to start doing inbound marketing. Inbound marketing can't exist without content. And that's why the third best practice is to create remarkable, tailored content. Inbound marketing is content plus context. Your content is your marketing toolkit. Things like blogs, interactive tools, photos, infographics, videos, and ebooks and presentations work to attract, convert, close, and delight. Context is who you're creating it for. You can't just write any blog posts, you have to write the right ones, tailored to who you're trying to reach and what they're interested in. The best content, the stuff that's really going to fuel your entire inbound strategy, has to be grounded in the correct context. It's not enough to just write a blog post or send out an email. The content in that blog post, in that email, need to be tailored to who you're trying to reach, your persona, and what they're most interested in seeing, which depends on where they are in the buyer's journey. The last best practice is to leverage your content. Make that content available for your buyer personas to find. Content distribution is what provides the context to your content. It's not enough to just have great content. You need to have a way to get that content out into the world. Distribution makes content relevant. There are a few different tools you can use to leverage content by distribution. The right distribution techniques gets the right content in front of the right person at the right time. You can use website pages, business blogs, social media, landing pages, calls to action, and marketing emails. Just make sure you're using tactics that help your content reach your buyer personas where they're spending their time. If they aren't spending their time on Twitter, Twitter shouldn't be a major part of your distribution plan. And that brings us to the end of the inbound best practices. Remember, research, develop, and use your buyer personas. Then combine that new knowledge with the buyer's journey to help you create and leverage remarkable content. In the next video, we'll look at an example of a real-life company that went from traditional marketing to inbound.